Okay, so what can we do asynchronously? So this is the one that I haven't tried, but I've had some great conversations with May, Ving, Swanson, and St. Paul, and so I think we have some things that you can still do because ultimately, what can we do in the building thinking classroom? We can always have a great problem. That's not a worry here. But what about visibly random groups? Can we do that? Um, we can group them, of course. We can still do 2 or 3 students. It all depends on your asynchronous definition. So what is your definition of asynchronous? Those vary based on your schools and what they want. When I talked to May, hers was that it's just, they can still get together in groups on their own time, so they can schedule themselves together, but it's not that they have to show up at your 9 o'clock class. That would be synchronous if they had to show up at your 9 o'clock class. Or she said, it would be okay if you scheduled, like you said, okay, here are the times on Tuesday that I can meet with you. You sign up for which times work for you. So you can have a small little group where you teach a couple times, but at least you can see them. So can we group them together? I think we can, unless your school says absolutely not. Can I randomly do it in front of them? I mean, you could videotape yourself randomly grouping them if you really want to go through that work. Otherwise, you can just tell them, here's my method when I group you, and then just tell them their groups. We also have vertical non-permanent surfaces, and so I still want them to be able to write, but now I'm losing, if I'm not with them, I'm losing that chance to be able to see their writing and listen to them. So now I want to be able to record that. So how can I record this? I personally used Explain Everything, but that cost me some money. I only had 11 students I was buying it for 1 month. So it was just $11 because it's about 90 cents a student per month. But that wasn't great. So, you have some Chrome extensions, Screencastify and Loom are both Chrome extensions. They both have a limit of 5 minutes, which isn't cool. I mean, it's better than 1 minute that Explain Everything has for free. I'm hearing a rumor that Loom actually, if you have a school website, including your students, that you get a free version that allows you more time. So I would really check into Loom to see if you can get more time with the kids. Otherwise, QuickTime on your computer, you're basically looking for something that will record not just what's going on your screen, but also record you talking. So you want to be able to hear the kids talk. And then I would still be using Jamboard as the actual whiteboard. So here I'm going to share with you a video. Like I said, I bought Explain Everything for 11 of my students, and this is basically my college trig class taking their final. And what I did is I put them in groups of 2 or 3 for like a set of like 3 or 4 problems, and then they scheduled with each other when they could get together and record. So one thing I'd like about Explain Everything is it actually has its own voice, so they didn't have to join Zoom and join Explain Everything. Once they all joined the same Explain Everything assignment, and they start hitting record, you can hear their voices. It has a voice part, and you can see them write. I told them that they had to use different colors per person, so they each decided which color they were going to use so that we could see who is doing what. And we had some very specific instructions, and I did a modeling lesson with them on how to make sure that everybody's involved because they were going to be graded accordingly. So what I did is, here's just a video recording, screen recording that I just actually on my laptop, I used the gaming recording for them to be able to just watch, or sorry, I used the game recording ability that I didn't know was built in my laptop. I just Googled how to capture my screen in video and found out that I had that on my laptop. So I used that to just capture the video as it played on my screen. So I skipped through to different parts because I wanted you to hear them talking. So on here, it's not really the math that's important, it's more the talking and just listening to them think together and work together. This is about 2 minutes. I'm actually going to play it for you right now, although if you have the link to my presentation, you can go in and watch it yourself also. But the fun part is the ending. I had a lot of fun correcting these. It took a lot of time. So I had to be ready for that, but it was really fun watching. It was like really entertaining TV for me to see them go down the wrong path, to not be able to do anything about it, and then to hear them actually figure it out together. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play.
He's doing.
I see.
I was just going to draw a circle. or a triangle again, but maybe that's, no, you wouldn't do that. Never mind.
So negative.
Opposite.
Does that matter? Or can you? Yeah. So like,
It helps me understand if it's the right way.
if
3 plus 4. Just 7.
I was just in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
You just crossed out the math.
so, it would still be
It's okay.
square root of 7, and wait, opposite over, right?
Yeah, so opposite is,
And it should be 7 squared. So it's a
14
49.
or 49. That what?
well, if you're doing the Pythagorean theorem, like, that's gonna, wait.
What? I'm confused
I
because
don't know what we did all that work for. Really? I'm kind of confused.
yeah, same. Oh boy.
Okay.
Arc sine. I don't really.
Well, like, because technically, like, I don't know if this is gonna help, but can't you write it like sine inverse negative, or just be positive then?
Yeah.
3 over 2. But I don't know how that if that helps, but
Well, for 3 over 2, this is like.
oh wait, guys.
450, 210, or whatever.
Okay, if we drew our circle, okay, so then we find where is sine is negative, sine will be negative, so it's either going to be in these two quadrants, and then where is pi over 2 or 3 pi over 2?
It's going to be right here or right here.
So
It's going to be like 5.
Okay, so what you got to hear there, not necessarily the math, but just, you know, how kids work together. And, you know, this is what I see every day in my classroom. They're not going to give up. They work together. And then they actually do come to the answer once they kind of bounce things off of each other. So this is what I would imagine if you're doing asynchronous. The kids could do on their own with maybe not an assessment, but, you know, could they do this with an assignment or a task that you give them? So when I was visiting with May, we kind of came up with the structure. So what if you did this? What if you made a video that gave instructions and directions? So, you know, you want to tell your task verbally. So tell them verbally, give them the links that they need, that kind of thing. So make a video that they get, you know, find out who there is in their groups, what they're supposed to do, all that kind of thing. Then the students need to work together somehow. So what does this mean for you and the age group you're teaching? So maybe each group finds a time to work together. By the way, if they're under age 13, make sure you have parent permission. If I worked with junior high or elementary students, I would definitely be looking at getting this parent permission right away at the beginning. This would be my first goal of the week, getting parent permission for kids to work together outside with each other without an adult supervision. And then, or like we had talked a little bit about already, you know, can I set up for sessions that kids sign up for? And then, you know, maybe there's some during the day, some at night, and then run that like I would a synchronous class. So what I talked about with distance learning, run it that way with fewer students. Or, and then also, sorry, not or, and have kind of an office hours for questions. So I want to be able to answer questions for them. So could I have a couple of times where they could, you know, check in with me? Maybe I have a Zoom or Google Meet ready to go, and I tell them I'm available at these times for questions. Also, if you go do a problem ahead of time, you should already know kind of where kids are going to get stuck. And maybe you can make a hints and extensions video for them. So you have that also within the assignment. If you need help getting started, if you get stuck, here's some things that I know might help. You know, have some videos for that, or just even explanations for that. And then at the end, you need to have a debrief of some sort. So, you know, when I debrief in the thinking classroom, I really like to go from board to board and talk about the things people did, and it actually being from the student work. this may or may not work. So a video of a teacher summary. So if you go through this yourself and you figure out what kids could do in the different ways, you could present that. And you could, go through it as if you would on the boards, as if it was the student work. Whether you say it's student work or your work is up to you. Or if you do something in Flipgrid. So Flipgrid is something I would definitely use in the case of having to teach asynchronously. But if you do Flipgrid, you could actually have it'll be delayed, but you could have a mixtape of the student debriefs. So maybe your assignment is that each kid makes a debrief themselves. Like, okay, now once you're done working together, maybe you can videotape that. And so when you're done working together, I want each of you to make your own video. This summarizes what your group did. And then maybe you could put together what Flipgrid calls a mixtape. So little clips of the student stuff that kind of builds like you would for any kind of summary that you do. So kind of doing that, if you made your own clip of that, you could have that assigned and they could look at that right after they're done working themselves. So it'd be pretty immediate. If you do a mixtape, it's going to have to be a delay of whenever they're assigned and they have to have things turned in, then enough time for you to put it together and get it back out to them to watch. And then follow that up with meaningful notes. As far as the things I'm going to use, just like I said, Loom or Screencastify. If the kids are working on iPads, there's a way for them to record on there. I'm not sure what it is, but I've been told there's a way. And I'm going to use Google Jamboard. So here's an example of, I put something together. Now this is an elementary example, but I think you can use your imagination and make it whatever level you're at and how that could work for you. So it's about a 2nd or 3rd grade. I got the task from Enrich. It's one of my favorite places to find tasks. And the idea is that we're working on the factors of numbers. And so what we start with is a notice wonder. So this is what I would do if I was in the classroom. A notice wonder, then we would go to the whiteboards and I would ask them these questions, and as they answered them, I'd give them the next question and keep working them through the actual day. And then there's the actual problem that you get from this link that you'll see there. Now, here's how I transformed it into asynchronous. So I start with the question, and then we go through everything else just the same way. But what I did is I actually organized this in Google Classroom. And while I was doing that, I convinced myself that I actually, if I had to do this way, I would not use Google Classroom, I use Flipgrid. But here's how I made it work in Google Classroom. So first off, if you are a Google Classroom user, there is something called the stream. It's kind of like Facebook, and it's really annoying if you have the stream open to all your assignments. So what I highly recommend, this is my big tip of the day, if you go over here to the gear and you scroll down, down here, it talks about the stream. And on the classwork on the stream, there are these options: show, attach, show, condense. This is what it's already set at. I went to hide notifications so that when kids are in the stream, that is all they see is my things that I'm telling them. Not necessarily all my assignments, because I really want them to go to classwork where I have things so well organized and it's not a Facebook feed. So then here's how I would do this. I would first set them to notice wonder. So I number them. I like to number them so that they do them in the order I want. So I would set up a notice wonder. Now this is the teacher view. Student view is a little bit different. I set it up as a question. So they're going to open up this doc and they're going to look at what does it all, what are they noticing here? Okay. If they don't know what I want them to do, I did make a little video telling them exactly what to do and how to do it. So I attached that there in case they needed it. And then they would type in their answer. And then once they typed in their answer, then they could see everybody else's answer. Again, this is the teacher view. This is the teacher view. But once a person types in their answer, then they can see other people's. Before they answer it, they can't see anybody's. It's just them. So it's their own noticing and wondering first. Okay, so we're done with the notice wonder. Then we go to explore. And in the explore, I put together a Google slide for them to follow. It seemed like an easy way to kind of lead them through. So this is on their own. There's no other group work yet. So in the Explore, I started out with a quick little video intro. I'm not going to play it for you, but a quick little video intro. You have access to this in the slides. Then I ask them to go to, I'm going to delete that for a second. I ask them to go to the next slide. And in my video intro, it tells them about this, that they're going to click on that. And this brings you to the Math Learning Center. And this is what I learned from Sarah Vanderwerf. And I'm so excited that I watched her video because this was amazing. So in Math Learning Center, they have a bunch of virtual apps. But here's what I love about it. Some of the apps, and they're working on more of them, you can set up the way you want. So I put 15 boxes here to represent the clothes. And according to this, can I put it into 2 equal rows? So now what the kids are supposed to do, they're supposed to play around with it and see if they can put them in 2 equal rows, right? So they go like this and they put them there and they work it out, and then they can annotate on it, which I love. They can show their thinking. They can say, okay, look, okay, so I'm just gonna kind of cut it short. You can get 7 here, you can get 7 here, and then let's say that's 1 left over, right? Okay, so now they're done, and I want them to share their work with me. Down here, this box with the arrow, they can click on it. You can copy the image, and so basically, copy image, right-click the image for copy options, copy image, and then I'm going to go back to my slide, and this slide I shared with them individually in Google Classroom so they each have their own version. They won't see each other's. They go here and they can paste it, and now whatever they worked on is going to be right here. So it's not live, it's the ending, but they can show me what they did. Then they go to 3 equal rows. So they click on it, it goes and it gives them the blank version of what we had. So it gives them the blank version, and they start again and they see if they can do it in 3 equal rows, and then they can put take another clip of it. And then we get to the last one here. It was 4 equal rows, 1 left over, but it's not 15. How many could you have? And again, I explained that in the video, so it's a little more clear than what I typed here. But then they click on it and it brings them to the Math Learning Center with nothing there, and they get to drag the blocks in and create however many they can so that they have 4 equal rows and 1 left over, and can they answer this question. So the Explorer is done. Now I'm going to bring them back. They've submitted that to me in Google Classroom, and now it's time for the group problem, which again I organized in the Google Slides. So here they go. I have instructions that I've typed out. So on slide 4, they're going to figure out what group they're in. So if I go to slide 4, my name is Jessica. I can see I'm in group 2. Okay. I can also see who I'm working with, Ashley and Reese, so I need to get a hold of them and find out when can they work with me so that we can work together. So before you work, watch the video in the next slide to learn the problem. So remember when I said, you know, tasks are best given orally. So here I go. I'm going to tell them orally what I want them to do in the video. When it's time to work with the group, join the Jamboard link on slide 4 and work on your group slide only. So if I go here, I have this Jamboard link. I'm going to open it. Might take a little bit. I don't have the best internet here. But anyway, so you can see there's 3 slides. I just had 3 groups. And I need to go to slide 2. I need to go to slide 2. And we can work out our stuff, right? And as a teacher, I can click on this and I can see what each group is doing, when they're on there, that kind of thing. Maybe when I do this, I want them to tell me when they're going to be on so that I can kind of listen in. I realized after I did this that one thing I did not ask them to do was videotape, record it somehow. So how am I going to get them to record? Am I going to have them do Screencastify to record, and maybe the person who's going to be recording records on their computer, and the other 2 call them and they put them on speakerphone so that the computer picks up on their voices also. Or I don't know, there's all kinds of, you know, things that you can think of. Be creative, but how can you get them to record them? And then I also included on slide 5 a video of any help they might need, and also if they finished up that problem real easily, maybe they need a challenge, and so I gave them a video of a challenge. So one thing I didn't do again was I did not have them recording, and I would probably have them record and somehow share that recording with me, however that is. If it's Google Drive, they can just attach it to the assignment, but I personally really want to be able to hear them talk it through and what they're doing. So there's Google Jamboard for you in this setting, is that they can still, you know, they can all log on to Jamboard and write on the Jamboard together. They all have that access, but then they can record somehow. And then let's see here. My last one then is my wrap up. So then I have a consolidation video here that it's not the best video that you've ever seen, but anyway, it would be an example of a consolidation video. And then they answer the question, which solution matched your thinking and why? So then they would have to answer the question so that you can know that they've watched the consolidation video, just to make sure that's something they don't skip, because students, they're going to want to skip it, but I don't want them to skip it. I want them to actually do that. Okay, so that's how I would go through. If you want access to the Google Slides, they're there so you can see the videos. But then yeah, so that's kind of the structure. I really found as I was doing this that it would have been way easier and more efficient for me, and also easier for the students technology-wise, to use Flipgrid. Flipgrid just really helps with attaching videos and following through on some of these things. So I would highly recommend that you look into Flipgrid. Now, as far as the Thinking Classroom goes, what was I able to do here? Okay, I'm able to give my oral instructions, kind of. I made a video of it. There's no classroom duty front. Okay, was I able to answer questions? Yes, but not simultaneously, like not with them while they're there, which is a little bit annoying for me, but I'm able to answer some. And if I have office hours, if they choose to join in with that, I'm able to answer there for them, but hopefully it's at a timely fashion and not like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna be able to talk to her until 2 days from now. Meaningful notes I didn't talk about here, but you can always do that no matter where you're at. Can I build autonomy? Can they help each other and look at other groups? Well, because I'm in the Jamboard, if a group has already worked it out, they can look at their slides. So there's that a little bit. But there's not much to be able for them to be able to, I don't know, I guess maybe kids are creative too. Maybe they're going to call each other. They're going to help each other out that way. But it's just not as easy as when you're in the classroom. So, or when you're live in synchronous learning. But I can kind of do it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Can I do hints and extensions? I can, kind of. I'm not totally excited about it, but if you make your videos and think it through, you can do a little bit of that. Leveling to the bottom, it might be delayed if you're going to make the mixtape, or if you're making your own video, you can do that. The difficult part, I feel like, is getting the kids to actually watch it. When you have them in the classroom or live, they're stuck listening to you, but when you're saying, hey, click on this and watch it, it's kind of hard to make sure they do that. They like to skip that ending part. So, have them answer a question afterwards might be helpful to get them to do it. And check for understanding. You can do those kind of homework understanding questions no matter where you are. So that is my take. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly and it makes sense. Hopefully also it gives you an idea of where you can go. So good luck to everybody.